For saxophone players, there are two kinds of days. Good reed days where you feel like you could hug the world and you rediscover the love for playing a saxophone with every single note. And bad reed days where you fantasize about selling your saxophone once and for all to buy yourself a nice little electric bike instead. It can be just so frustrating when you open a new pack of reeds and you discover that you can only play half of them. Or you found the reed of your dreams one day and the next day it just plays terribly. I myself struggled with these issues for a long time, but over the years I found some tricks and methods that enable me now to first of all play all the reeds that I buy. I never throw away any reed unused. And second of all, fix reeds that suddenly don't seem to work anymore. Let's first talk about the new, untouched reeds that come straight out of the box and don't work. Before I knew how to help myself, at least 2 out of 5 reeds I couldn't play at all because they were too hard, too soft, or had some other issue. This is of course really annoying, but can be also quite costly over time. You can spend a lot of money on reeds that you will never play in your life. But it's actually not that difficult to learn how to make all of your reeds work. The first thing I do is I make sure that I buy reeds that are a little bit too hard when they come right out of the box. For example, I'm playing a Matt Moran's mouthpiece with a 7-star tip opening and Van Doren ZZ reeds number 3. Then I use this little tool from ReedGeek called Black Diamond G4 to adjust my reeds. Let me show you how I do that. The first step is to make sure that the backside of the reed is even. For that I go over the backside just a few times. Then I put the reed in a glass of water for a few minutes. This is really important because if the reed is dry, it really doesn't play well. Now I try how the reed plays. If I have the feeling that it's too hard, I will use the ReedGeek and take off more material from the backside of the reed. How much depends on how hard the reed feels to me. Now I try the reed again. If the reed is still not where I want it to be, I will start doing a little test. Before I show you this test, I quickly need to explain something. Without being too scientific about it, you can imagine that the higher notes sit at the tip of the reed, whereas the lower notes are located at the middle of the reed. And what I do is I test where the reed has the most resistance. I will first play a low C, then a middle C, and then a high C. If, for example, the low C is too resistant, I will take off some material at the middle of the reed. If the middle C is too resistant, I will go a bit further to the tip with the ReedGeek. And if the high C is too resistant, I will take material off from the tip of the reed. Make sure to take off equal amounts on both sides of the reed so it's symmetrical. If the reed still doesn't play well, there's one more thing you can do. You turn the mouthpiece by 45 degrees to the left and to the right, and by that you can play only on one half of the reed at a time. Then you compare which side is more resistant. Take off material on this side. In my experience, some reeds still don't work great even after going through all these steps. When I have a reed like this, I just play it for a moment and then put it away and take a look at it the next day. Some reeds seem to need some time, but in the end, all reeds work fine for me. So you found a reed that works great, but the next day it just doesn't want to play anymore. I found that in most cases the reason is that the reed just dried out. Maybe because of the hot weather during summer or also because of the heating during winter time. So what I would do is I leave the reed in a glass of water for a few minutes and see if this helps. Definitely make sure that the tip of the reed doesn't show any signs of warping. If it does, it means that it needs more water. If all water doesn't help to bring the reed back into shape, I might pick up my ReedGeek again and start to work on the reed as I mentioned before. If your reed should turn out to be too soft, there's one thing you can do about it. For that you need sandpaper with a grain of 1000. You hold the sandpaper like that to file down the tip of the reed. Then you flip the reed and do the same movement again. This technique I learned from a Swiss expert on saxophone and clarinet reeds called Hans-Toni Kaufmann. It needs some practice though, and unfortunately in my experience it doesn't really produce a reed that plays great. It's rather a solution for emergencies in case you don't have any other reed left. Actually, I also learned from Hans-Toni Kaufmann that you can revive old reeds by using dish soap to remove the chalk. However, I never came to try it. If any of you have experience with this, let me know in the comments. What I would also be really interested in is which reed brand you're currently playing. It would be great to have a bit of an exchange in the comment section which reed brands worked best for you so far. As I mentioned before, I'm playing Van Doren Jazz reeds and they are for me the most consistent reeds that I tried. So that's it for today. As always, thanks for watching and don't forget to subscribe if you like this video and want to see more like this. Also make sure to click the like button and see you next time.